Hey there, it's Kat and this is Brews and Reviews. So today I'm going to talk to you guys all about the books that I read in July 2022, and I read 14 books in this month. What? Can I not count? Is that what's happening here? Can I not count? Please, someone help me. I've only read 13 books. I don't know where I got 14 from. I just come up with some bollocks there. 3 of these books were physical books, 5 were audiobooks, 3 were ebooks, 1 was a graphic novel, and 1 was a manga. I got 2 2-star books, 2 3-star books, 5 4-star books, and 4 5-star books. So that's a fun breakdown, lots of numbers and things. Can I not count? So let's get straight into talking about the books. The first book that I finished this month was Sea Glass by Maria V. Snyder. I didn't like this book. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. It was pretty bad. It is the second book in the sequel trilogy to the Poison Study books, and it follows a character that I don't like, and it has a bunch of other characters that I don't like, and even the likeable characters from the previous trilogy and book are less likeable in this book. So this is not super fun. It's a very, very slow book that has awful characters and they all make bad decisions. You know, the one word that comes to my mind when I think about this book is just boo. 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 I'm sad. And I have to read the next book in this series because it's on my 30 books to read before 30 list, and I'm sad about it. And then I look at the next book and I'm just like, boo. Boo. Already. But I'm going to force myself to do it because I hate myself apparently. Anyway, 2 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence. This is the third and final book in the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, and I enjoyed this. I really liked how it ended. I think at the start I was a little bit confused because it kept switching back and forth throughout timelines, and it was like 3 years later, 3 years before, and just in my little head for some reason that was just really hard to distinguish. And I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it's because it was an audiobook and like the style of writing just made my head go a little bit weird about it, but I struggled a little bit. I think that's a me problem rather than a book problem though. I think it had a really good ending and I was happy with how it resolved. It's not super epic how everything turned out, but it just fit with the rest of the series. I don't know, it just worked the way that I kind of wanted it to work. Although I am very sad about a thing that happened at the end. I don't want to spoil for anyone, but it made me sad. Certain deaths towards the end of the book. I could have done without that. We could have just let everyone be happy and just, no? Okay. But that's by the by. It was a good book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars and I enjoyed it. Now on to the second book that I read this month that was a 2-star rating, and I'm not even entirely sure it actually deserved that. But that's what I gave it anyway. That was Ninth Judgment by James Patterson and Maxine Petro. Okay, so this is book 9 in the Women's Murder Club series, and this is the book that has finally caused me to DNF this series. I feel like I could do a whole rant review about this series and how it went really, really downhill. Not that it was ever at the heights of anything really good to begin with, but oh god, the last book and then this book, no, it was the nail in the coffin for me. I could not progress with this series. Even though I own other books in the series, I'm not picking them up. It's not worth it. So what has happened in this book that has made me just DNF the series is that I've realised that I don't care about any of the main characters. Any of them. And there are a lot of main characters and I just don't care what happens to them. I don't care what they do with their lives. I don't care how their romantic relationships work. I don't care what peril their jobs are in because it's always the same damn peril. They're always just awful at everything. I don't think that the 2 people that wrote this book have ever met women. I just don't know if they know how women interact with each other. They certainly know how to write stereotypes, and I just don't want to read them. I don't. I'm done with this series. I don't care what happens. Couldn't tell you what happened in this book, except at one point, some random dude makes the main character, who is a detective, drive pretty much naked. I think she's just wearing pants across a bridge, then get out on top of a bridge. Like, and then people are like, oh, somebody's gonna commit naked suicide, and I'm like, no. This is a whole nope, and it's a very much nope for the future. So you won't be hearing any more about the Women's Murder Club on my channel unless you guys would all like me to do a full review on why I decided to DNF this series, because wow, it sucks. The next book that I read was like a perfect foil to that because I really enjoyed this book and it made me feel nice and gooey inside and I had a nice time with it. It's Hani and Issue's Guide to Fake Dating by Adiva Jayadar. I love this book. It's so good. It made me feel so happy and it just gave me nice feels. I really love both of the girls and how different they are. It's very much like a Grumpy Sunshine fake dating sort of thing, and I love a Grumpy Sunshine dynamic. I really do. I also really loved how culture and family and religious beliefs, I don't know if you just heard my cat sneeze, but he sneezed and it was very cute. Anyway, I really loved how culture and family and religion were sort of interwoven into this story, and there was a lot about respect. I do have to say there are a lot of trigger warnings, but there is a section at the front of the book that I will just read to you now that says what the trigger warnings are. So racism, homophobia, specifically biphobia and lesbophobia, Islamophobia, toxic friendship, gaslighting, and parental abandonment. So that makes it sound like it's going to be like a really horrible book, but I just think the way that it was dealt with in this book was really great, and really liked sort of going through it and seeing the difference between disrespect and the respect of these things, and I don't know, I just would recommend this book to anyone. Also, I really loved the sister I sneezed again. I also really loved the sister relationship between Issue and her sister and how that sort of develops as this book goes on. That was a real highlight for me. Really loved this book. I can definitely see myself rereading it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Fullmetal Alchemist Volume 5 by Hiromo Arakawa. I've been working my way through the Fullmetal Alchemist series and I've got to say I did not enjoy this volume. That's mostly because it was about a woman giving birth and it was a lot of backstory. I just didn't get very much from this. I don't think anything really cool happened. It was just a lot of like backstory, and then like the current plot line was just, oh, this lady's giving birth and the bridge is down. How? Well, we get someone to make sure that she doesn't die in childbirth. I don't care about childbirth. I don't care about babies. So this was not a great volume for me. I will still continue with this series, but I didn't love this volume. The next book that I picked up was a graphic novel called The Fine Print. This is volume 1. I don't think any other volumes are out at this point in time, and I'm really mad about it because I really enjoyed this volume. This is a graphic novel about cupids, succubi, and incubi, and making deals with humans to sort of like harvest things from them, but obviously the humans get stuff in return, things that succubi and incubi are obviously top notch at. There are also a bunch of gods in here. Hades appears in here and he's just great. I love when he appears and his character in this. Honestly, great portrayal, had me laughing out loud. A lot of the characters in here have me laughing out loud. There is graphic content, graphic on-page sex scenes of all LGBT preferences. But basically there is sort of this competition to be the top person who is harvesting from the humans, and two of these, one incubi, one succubi, they're trying to battle it out to see who will become the top one. Because if you become the top dog, I can't remember the specific term of it, but the top person gets to have a family and settle down, and it's like a big honour. And you also follow a plotline of a human woman who is really having a bad time. There's a lot of trauma. She's definitely having a trauma. A whole trauma-based depression time. It's not great for her. She doesn't deal with her problems in very healthy ways. And yeah, it's a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I'm just mad that there is not more, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Raybearer by Jordan Efuecko. This book is set in an African-inspired fantasy world where an emperor rules over 12 different kingdoms, and he has one person from each of those kingdoms come to sort of join his like family thing, and when they're bound to him, they're the only people that can kill him, and he's sort of like immune to death in every other way. There's a whole lot more going on, but the main character's mother wants her to kill the emperor's son, so she trains the main character to become someone who could be one of the emperor's son's 11 people. I'm really poorly explaining this. This book is really good. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really butchering it. She's trained to kill him, but she doesn't want to kill him because she thinks she might finally have a family, and that would be great. And then there's a whole internal battle. It's a really good book. I recommend it, and I'm going to be reading the next one soon because I need to know what happens. I really enjoyed the characters and the relationships they build. I just really liked a lot about this book. It was really good. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next up I did a buddy read with Kayla from Crack Into a Good Book, and we decided we were going to read the 3 novellas that were released by Ali Hazelwood, the author of The Love Hypothesis, and that is Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero. So we didn't read it in that order because I'm an idiot and I just went, let's pick this one, it's green. So the first one we read was Stuck With You, and then we did Under One Roof, and then we did Below Zero. It kind of doesn't matter the order in which you read them because the stories do sort of interconnect with each other. They're about 3 women who work in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and they're friends. They live in different places, they're going about their separate lives, and obviously they have like Zoom calls and they chat with each other because they live on separate ends of the country. So Stuck With You is cute and fun. It's kind of a miscommunication-ish type trope. The 2 main characters get stuck in a lift together. They previously hit it off, had this one night stand together, and then something happened and now they don't like each other. And it flashes back and forward between how they met and them getting together romantically, and then them in the lift and what happens then. This one was cute and fun, but I do think it's the weakest one in the trio. I don't know, there's something about it that just didn't quite hit the same as the other ones. But it was still really good. Then we have Under One Roof, which is sort of hate to love scenario. The main character in this one gets left the deed to half a house, and she moves into that house because she's like, okay, this is great. And the other person that's already living in the house doesn't like her. He's not happy about the fact that she's moved in, and they start off really hating each other, and then obviously things progress. I really enjoyed that there was some sort of asexual rep in there, which I think is more demi-rep, but in the case of a man in this instance, which you don't see very often, I really enjoyed that. I found this one really funny and I just enjoyed it. It was a good time. I'd recommend, if you were going to pick up any of them, I'd pick up either this one or Below Zero, or, you know, just pick them all up because they were all fun. And then finally, Below Zero is about a woman who kind of hates everyone, a mood that I feel very strongly, and she really loves her job. She works for NASA and she is so invested in her work, and I don't know, there was something about this one. Kayla and I were talking about it and we thought at first that we liked Under One Roof the most, and then after, you know, thinking about it, we decided that Below Zero might be our favourite because, I don't know, there's something about this woman's passion for her work, and then it's like bromance happens along the way, but her core goal is to do her job. I don't know, I just thought it had a little bit more substance to it and I liked it a lot. So she works for NASA, and it starts off with her stuck in a crevice in the middle of Norway, and it's a bad time, and it flashes back and forward to the guy who has decided to come and rescue her from when they first met to now, and it's just really cute. I liked it a lot. I really enjoy it when there's a character that hates everyone and then somebody else just like worms their way into their life. I love that. I think the passion for career and the way that the 2 characters bonded in this one was like a real plus point for me. There is one thing that I did not enjoy, and that was that this book came out in 2022 and there was a Harry Potter reference, and I just feel like we're past that, aren't we? We're past that. We should be past that. It was very brief, like a throwaway comment, but we could just throw it away. So on to the next 2 books that I read. I'm going to talk about them together because they're part of the same series. What? I read 2 books in the same series, finished off a trilogy? What? Who am I? I don't know. So the books that I read were The Obelisk Gate and The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. I've been meaning to finish this trilogy off for the longest time. Just so long. Now, I reread the first book last year in an attempt to continue with the series, and then obviously I didn't. I liked it more the second time around because I knew what was going on, and I just felt a little bit more for each of the characters. These books, however, I was really into them. I really loved them. I gave them both 4 out of 5 stars because they didn't quite hit 5 out of 5 stars for me, but I really enjoyed them, and I really liked how the world progressed and how there was a lot more going on than you initially think that there might be from the first one. I liked all of the characters and how they developed as people. I liked that we got the perspective of Essen's daughter in the sequel, and there was just a lot more going on. I think with this series, I do have to say, it's a hard one to read because there is a lot about slavery, there is child death and abuse that definitely happens, like particularly Nassen's plotline is like child manipulation for quite a bit of it. There's a whole not nice time. So I would look into trigger warnings before you decide to pick this series out. The first book has sections that are written in second person, and that does continue, and you finally find out why in The Stone Sky, but I'm not going to spoil why. But I really liked the purpose of that, so I enjoyed that there was a purpose for the second person, and it wasn't just like, second person, why not? So yeah, I would recommend this series. I really enjoyed reading it. I think it was 4 out of 4 stars. All of the books, I think that's how I rated it. Maybe the first one was a 5-star. Really good. Glad I finally read it. Then I read Fantastic Land by Mike Bockoven. This is a book about a tornado that passes through Fantastic Land, which is like a theme park sort of equivalent to Disneyland that has like 6 different realms, like robots, pirates, fairy, prairie, that sort of thing. And the people who get stuck in Fantastic Land. And then it goes very Lord of the Flies. So I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars because I'm kind of fascinated by natural disasters and people having to survive after them. I really enjoyed how this book was written as reports and interviews with different people who were involved in the Fantastic Land tragedy. One thing I didn't like though is that it went Lord of the Flies so quickly. Like so quickly. Like we've been here for like a day and now we're chopping people's hands off. Not sure that's how humans work. Some humans maybe, but I just don't believe that you could get hundreds of people together and then they would be like, yeah, okay, chop the hands off, that's okay. No, I refuse to believe that people are that awful. And I hate people. So me saying that I refuse to believe that means that it's really unbelievable. I think another key problem that I had with this book is that it kept talking about how, young people, they were young people. You put all of these young people and then this is what they're going to do. They've lost their phones, they've lost their internet, and they don't know what to do with themselves. So we had to give them a purpose, and their purpose was to kill each other to defend their resources. And I just think that was a little bit blame the youth, and I didn't like it. I like the disaster, I like the survival reports and how some of the people went about surviving. I just think too many people went a bit savage a bit too quickly. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because there were aspects of it that I did like. I just don't think it did what it could have done, and it had the potential to be so much more. So, sadness, but also it was kind of about what I expected because I picked this up, I can't remember who it was. If I can remember which booktuber I heard talk about this book, I will leave it in the description below. But they didn't like it. They went into this book really not liking it, and it made me want to read it. So that's why I read it. I didn't go in with very high expectations. That's why I think it got a 3 out of 5 stars. So those are the books I read in July. A lot of them were shorter books, but I'm happy with that. I feel like I just read quite a lot of good books, and I read some terrible books, but I'm also not mad about it because they were books that I had on different TBRs for the year, so at least I'm feeling accomplished in the sense that I got them off of those TBRs. So if you made it this far into the video, please leave me any sort of fun fairish type emoji, like a Ferris wheel, I don't know. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!